Hello, class. Today I would like to talk about using sighting. If you want to do a still life or any other type of painting, especially if you're doing plein air, if you're doing from a real still life setup rather than a photo, it's good to learn sighting. Now, sighting is a way to take measurements, relative measurements of different things in your view in order to help you get the relative sizes and angles of what you're looking at. This is really important if you're working directly from still life setups, which I encourage you to do. And encourage you to do that because you can get much more interesting results if you're looking at your lighting and everything else right in front of you rather than a picture. It also gives you the experience of setting up your elements. So the difference between drawing or painting from a picture is a photo will automatically flatten out your viewing plane. So if you ever try to draw from something from life and had trouble with it, the reason is you have to limit you have to flatten it out. So in order to flatten it out, what you need to do is close one eye when you're looking at it. And the reason is that because the reason why we have 3D, we can see things in 3 dimensions, is you have two eyes that are spaced apart. Each eye is giving you a separate angle. And when those are put together, you can see it just gives you that 3D. In order to translate that 3D to a flat plane, such as a paper or your watercolor paper or canvas, we have to do a little extra. So one way to determine what we're looking at is by doing what is called sighting. And one of the important things to learn when you're doing still life is how to do an ellipse and at what angle, how does our ellipse change according to what angle we're looking at things. So the ellipse is nothing but looking at a circle in perspective. So if you're looking at a circle, if you're looking straight down on a lid or a jar, you would see just basically a perfect circle. Now, the more you look at an angle, that circle starts changing into an ellipse. If you look at it right at your eye level, you don't see any ellipse. It's just a line going across. If it's above your eye level, you start seeing the other side and you're looking up at it. So that's when, if you close one eye and look at your lid on an angle, that's an ellipse. So this is an ellipse. It's not pointed at the ends. There's a curve at each end. And usually the curve that's in front of you and curve behind you. Curve in front of you is more of a curve than the one behind. So do you see this anywhere in this picture? Of course, you see it because you can see the top. You can see the top of this paper towel roll. And the reason why us can see the top of it, because from where my eyesight, my eye level is, I'm looking slightly down on it. The same with this. So how much of an ellipse do I have? The ellipse is usually measured by your by the width axis and the height axis. So when I do my sighting, I can see how much of an opening or angle of that ellipse is by straightening my elbow, closing one eye and doing a measurement this way. I'm putting my finger where the end, my pencil hits the one end of the lips and my finger on the other. Keeping my arm straight, I'm going to turn, and then I'm going to look and see the other axis of my lips is about here. So if you look at that relatively, it's less than 1/2. So this distance here, to me, looks like it's less than 1/2 of the whole width. It might be about 1/3. So when I get a draw, I can eyeball it, or I could just put my 2 axes in. So I have an axis here. Then I'm going to maybe, okay, this is the halfway point. This is 1/4. I'm going to do another axis about here. And my lips will go around. That's the approximate. It's an approximate measurement. It's not exact. And then when you look at it later, you can tell if that's right or not. So to me, that looks about what that paper towel roll is. And in the middle, there's another ellipse. So the other thing to consider is when you have a straight cylinder and it's straight up and down, it's perfectly straight. In other words, it is going to be not angled, but parallel to the sides of your paper. Now, if I wanted to be very specific about how high or how tall that paper towel roll is, I could do another measurement. So here's that ellipse, and I'm doing 1, 2, 2 1/4. 1, 2. See, 1, 2. It's about 2. It's a little bit longer than 2. So now my camera that I'm using to record this is already flattening that out for me. And I know that this bottom ellipse, even though you think it's correct, it's going to be more rounded than the top. If you're putting a straight line across here, that's not going to look right. The reason why it's more rounded is because you're looking slightly down on it. This you're looking down on here, but you can, since it's tall, you're looking more down on the bottom. Next measurement, I'm going to be doing the can of oats there. Now, if you notice that the round part of this, the bottom is slightly behind your paper towel. So that is going to be higher on the page. So I'm going to go ahead and place that where I see it. Then I think I'm going to do a measurement from here. So measuring by sighting, I'm going to close one eye, lock my elbow, and measure the distance from the bottom of that top ellipse to the bottom ellipse, and then compare it with the H box. So this and this. To me, it's more than half the height. In fact, it lines up with this mark I already have on my pencil. So I think it's about here. So it's not an exact measurement, and whatever you do, don't put a ruler down and try to measure with a ruler. It's not the same thing. This is a relative measurement. Now, if you go out to some place where people are doing plein air painting and you see they're all putting their paintbrushes up in the air with straight elbow, you know what you're doing. This is what I recommend, is working from still life setup instead of a photo to give you that experience. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show your shading, and we're going to go right into using watercolor without drawing first.